Ever wondered what the world would look like after the end of civilization? Step into Florida, 2025. Once known as America's Sunshine Paradise, where people dreamed of retiring, enjoying endless beaches, and starting fresh. This state is now turning into a wasteland. Children grow up in tents, elderly citizens sleep under bridges, and even SWAT officers are afraid to enter certain neighborhoods. This isn't just a crisis. It's a total breakdown of humanity, order, and faith in the American promise that nobody would ever be left behind. Today, we'll bravely journey into Florida's hidden corners, a place becoming a nightmare for tens of thousands of homeless people. Neighborhoods once glittering with life now overflow with trash, tents, and the desperate stares of those with nowhere else to go. Florida was once America's favorite retirement destination, where people dreamed of finally relaxing under warm sunshine after years of hard work. But today, this paradise is now ground zero for an exploding homeless crisis, a cruel twist between the glamorous image tourists see and the harsh reality residents endure. You don't even have to search hidden alleys or abandoned rural roads to witness this collapse. Just stop at any busy intersection in Orlando, or drive past the edges of Tampa or Miami. Homelessness here isn't hidden. It's a glaring disaster that's spreading uncontrollably. A massive crack is splitting apart the American dream beneath the palm trees and pristine beaches. In places once celebrated as vacation spots, streets are now lined with makeshift shelters built from plastic sheets, scrap wood, and broken-down cars. Under Florida's scorching sun, elderly people wash up at public faucets, sleep on cardboard beds, and turn parking lots into homes. Pedestrians hurry past, afraid to look closely, perhaps terrified they'll see their own futures reflected in those exhausted faces. Right now, Florida has more than 31,462 homeless people, a number that keeps rising each year. But behind that shocking statistic lies an even darker reality. Many of these people once had stable jobs, paid taxes, and followed society's rules. A single misfortune, an illness, job loss, or death in the family, was enough to push them into the depths of desperation. They try to climb back, but housing prices averaging over $2,300 a month, endless waiting lists for affordable housing, and a broken welfare system have locked them out. Local authorities, police departments, and charities all tried to step in, but it was like using buckets to save a sinking ship. Even SWAT teams briefly tried to restore order in overcrowded communities, but eventually gave up, leaving thousands helpless. Florida didn't collapse overnight. It's cracking slowly, day after day. Cheap motels now house full-time workers who can't afford rent. Gas stations double as washrooms for struggling families. Elderly people look around with panic, realizing even retirement is no longer safe. And if this could happen here, in Florida, the state famous for peace and retirement, then where else in America could possibly be safe? Or is the whole country becoming just another temporary tent, leaving behind those who built it? In Florida, there are sea turtles who used to know exactly where to go each breeding season, instinctively finding their familiar beaches. But those beaches have changed. Sand is disturbed by resorts. Lights from restaurants confuse their navigation, and the turtles wander helplessly, unable to return home. Maria is just like one of those lost turtles. At 63 years old, she's among thousands of elderly Floridians barely surviving. On humid Miami nights, as most people retreat indoors, Maria starts her second shift as a security guard. She works every single night, 7 nights a week. But despite her endless shifts, Maria still can't afford a real home. Instead, she parks her old car in a familiar corner of a dim parking lot every night. Her vehicle is her bedroom, her shelter, and home for her small dog, her only companion. Each morning, Maria washes her face using a faucet near a public trash can. If she's lucky, she finds a quiet spot for a brief 2-hour nap before heading back to work again. Maria represents the forgotten generation, the hardworking citizens who did everything right but now find themselves abandoned in the very city they trusted. According to local charities, elderly people in Florida are the hardest hit because they can no longer rebuild their lives. There's no chance to earn more money, no way to move somewhere else, and no safety net left. They're not just losing their homes, they're losing their sense of belonging too. Of course, there are good people trying to help. Charities are scrambling to provide temporary housing, support programs, and affordable rentals. But with rents in South Florida now double the average income, those efforts are like tiny boats fighting massive waves. The homeless here don't ask for much. They simply want the right to rest safely. Yet, reality forces them to desperately cling onto the last scraps of dignity they have left. Florida once symbolized new beginnings, but for people like Maria, it's now a daily struggle against drowning in despair. And if hardworking individuals like Maria, who still believe in dignity, labor, and silence, can no longer survive in the place once called the Promised Land, is America still the home it promised to be? Or has it become just another artificial beach, where aging turtles remain forever lost, struggling to survive each night? Picture being charged just for lying down to rest. Florida, once the gentle final stop after decades of hard work, is about to make that nightmare real. Starting this October, a statewide rule will forbid sleeping or camping on beaches, parks, sidewalks, and underpasses unless every government shelter is packed full. The new law demands special encampments with restrooms, guards, and mental health help, yet only after the system is already overflowing. Officials claim they want cleaner, safer streets, but many unhoused residents feel erased. On Broward Boulevard, confused and angry voices fill the humid air. A middle-aged man pushes a rattling shopping cart and warns, "They don't want to see us, so they make laws to erase us from the community." He sighs, remembering a lost house, a lost family, and nights spent hunting a place to sleep as if he were a public threat. While the United States Supreme Court weighs a similar dispute from Oregon, Florida marches ahead anyway. Here, simply being too poor, too tired, or too late on a waiting list can brand an elderly person a criminal for closing weary eyes. If dreamers of every age are punished for resting, are they still members of society, or have we quietly exiled them because their presence forces us to face an uncomfortable reality? Florida is not just swaying palms and bright postcards. Behind shiny hotel fronts hide forbidden zones where even SWAT teams hesitate. North of Miami-Dade and west of Palm Beach, sprawling tent cities form an invisible metropolis. There are no clear laws, no steady medical care, and almost no watchful eyes. A police officer admitted to a local paper, "We are trained to handle crime, but here no one is committing any clear crimes. We're facing a different kind of crisis, one that even with enforcement tools we can't solve anything." One stifling night, rescue workers donned protective suits to pull an elderly man with a raging infection from camp. He had lain unnoticed for 3 days in triple-digit heat. In Jacksonville, an abandoned lot behind rusting shipping containers now shelters more than 40 souls. No power, no water, no toilets, and not even an official address. The ground itself is missing from city maps. Yet for a former builder and a weary veteran, it is the final refuge they can still call home. Early in 2025, police analysts warned SWAT units to avoid 3 zones deemed too crowded, too unstable, and too likely to erupt in violence. New officers privately call these blocks gray areas, places where law cannot fully rule, yet cannot fully retreat. People do not fear these camps because residents are vicious. They fear them because desperation lives there, and nothing is more volatile than a community cornered with nothing left to lose. Florida once marketed itself as the dream restart, the place where hope could bloom under endless sun. Inside those nameless camps, that dream is not merely abandoned. It decays in slow motion. If the very officers sworn to safeguard the vulnerable will not enter, who will defend the last shreds of dignity from men and women fading on society's edge? The crisis hits older Floridians hardest. Rental costs in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Naples have nearly doubled in 10 years. A single-bed apartment now costs well above $2,000 a month. Pensions, Social Security checks, or part-time wages cannot compete. A sudden spike in electricity fees, an uncovered prescription, or a one-time loan to help a struggling child can collapse an entire life built over decades. Many seniors paid taxes for years, believing the system would protect them in frail seasons. Now they vanish inside that same system, reduced to washing at public spigots and curling under supermarket awnings each night. They do not want pity. They simply refuse to become burdens while they fight quietly to cling to self-respect. Florida's fall stings deeper precisely because it once shone so brightly. If a state praised as paradise forces its elders to collect cans to survive, retirement across America is turning into a luxury ticket few can afford. What happens when the generation that built highways, schools, and businesses can no longer rest on the soil they shaped? Are we letting old age, once celebrated, become a silent sentence? There was a time when a simple dinner of stew, mashed potatoes, and a slice of cake felt guaranteed for every middle-class table. Not extravagant, just comforting. Many imagined they would enjoy that same modest grace forever, especially in sunny Florida. Yet hundreds now finish their last meal on park benches. Others settle for tap water, stale bread, or scraps fish from grocery dumpsters. But the law's fine print is even harsher. Anyone caught bedding down in a forbidden spot can be ticketed, fined, or jailed. Lose a job today, earn a criminal record tomorrow, and watch every chance of escaping poverty vanish. County leaders promise so-called safe encampments with fences, showers, security, and counselors. Yet those sites rely on local budgets already stretched thin. Many counties admit they have no immediate funds or land, meaning thousands could face punishment long before any designated zone exists. Legal experts warn that enforcement will sweep people into courts and jails faster than services can pull them out. Outreach workers fear mental health crises will explode when exhausted residents are driven from the few public corners where they can rest. Even business owners are split. Some welcome cleaner storefronts, while others worry arrests will clog sidewalks with patrol cars, adding chaos instead of curing it. The showdown is coming fast, and the stakes reach beyond one state. If dreams can be taxed until they shatter, and sleep can be outlawed when there is nowhere else to go, the question booms louder than surf in a hurricane. Who among us is next when the sun finally sets? Dawn hasn't even cracked the Miami-Dade skyline, yet dozens of gray-haired residents already shuffle into a line that began forming at 5 a.m. All they hope for is a thin plastic bag of emergency food, 2 dinner cans, a clutch of instant noodles, maybe a sleeve of expired cookies. They never beg for fancy treats. They just want a little relief from the gnawing pit in their stomachs. What stings isn't only the sight of seniors nibbling leftovers. It's the brutal irony. Florida ranks among the nation's fastest-growing hubs for luxury real estate, high-tech medicine, and glittering tourism. While a sliver of the ultra-rich raise champagne glasses on sleek yachts, neighbors who paid taxes for 40 years can't afford a carton of milk. In a world where a phone app can send a $30 lunch to your doorstep in 15 minutes, an elder forced to ration vitamins like breadcrumbs feels nothing short of tragic. And it's not just the unhoused. Thousands still own modest homes and drive aging cars. Yet they now eat as if caught in a disaster zone because the budget battle among prescriptions, utilities, and groceries is unwinnable. Florida's share of seniors living alone is among the highest in America, and pride keeps many silent until the day fragile health finally buckles. Lose a house, and hope still flickers. Lose a job, and a new path might appear. But lose the ability to enjoy a simple, nourishing meal, and something essential to human dignity vanishes. If a nation that once sent rockets to the moon can no longer promise a warm supper to the very people who built that dream, have we forgotten our purpose? Florida once shone as a model state. Low taxes, gentle weather, advanced hospitals, drawing retirees by the millions. Yet the praised safety nets are tearing apart right on the streets they were meant to protect. Public housing lists stretch longer than lifespans. Many applicants pass away before their number comes up. SNAP benefits barely cover basics during soaring inflation, and medical aid on paper turns to red tape in real life. Dense forms that few people in their 70s can navigate. The core issue isn't a lack of laws. It's the canyon between policy and people. Overlapping rules from federal, state, and local agencies create a maze. Someone might qualify for federal help, but miss out on state housing because they lack a stable residence. A cruel contradiction for anyone sleeping in a car. Those gaps become traps, and seniors fall through without a safety net in sight. Today, countless elders still punch time clocks, not by choice but by necessity. Yet city planners barely see them when drafting shiny urban growth blueprints. They vanish from real estate tax talks and rarely appear in mental health programs, even though that silent feeling of abandonment keeps spreading. Welfare that never reaches the weakest is no welfare at all, and a society that protects only the strong cannot call itself civilized. Cracks don't appear in one loud snap. They widen quietly. A denied relief check, a postponed clinic visit, the sudden demolition of a fragile tent community. Each tiny cut deepens the rift between citizens and a system they once trusted. When faith in that system crumbles, who is left to lift weary neighbors back onto their feet? Florida, long branded a retirement paradise, is becoming a place where many older residents stop daring to dream. The blazing sun that once promised hope now beats down on silver-haired heads waiting for charity meals under palm tree shade. Is the state's future still as bright as the glossy postcards? Or is that shine only a reflection off luxury resorts? Numbers tell a chilling story. Seniors already make up nearly 21% of Florida's population, one of the highest shares nationwide. Meanwhile, public resources are drying up fast. As new beachfront resorts sprout, complete with golf courses, spas, and haute cuisine, thousands of aging locals live in parked cars, clean up with baby wipes, and choose between medicine and dinner. Cities like Miami, Tampa, and Orlando, once heralded as ideal retirement escapes, now risk turning into gray zones. Rental rates in South Florida have more than doubled in under a decade. Yet pensions and Social Security checks remain almost frozen. We've moved beyond a simple housing crunch into a chasm, swallowing an entire generation's hopes. Worse still, Florida's struggle may be tomorrow's warning for other states.